Hello, everyone. We're back once again here with the CFG. It has once again been assembled, and we are, of course, myself, Magpie, and we've got bluedragonfive,
Hello, everyone.
and the man of mystery himself, the villain of the story, Mr.E.
Yep, that's me.
Okay,
What are we here discussing this week, gentlemen?
we are discussing heroes and how they define us. Now, we've got quite a topic here because we've got, of course, the real life heroes, the firemen, the policemen, the doctors, nurses, and just everyday people who get caught in situations where they have to step up and be the hero. And of course, we're going to start things off though with the fictional heroes. And of course, we're going to start off with the comic book guys, the Batmans, the Supermans, and that. And so I was introduced to heroes, of course, initially when I was very young, through the Star Wars trilogy, and of course the original Star Wars movie before George Lucas went and hacked it all to pieces and changed everything. I gather a lot of you have seen that, and as well, and probably that was one of you guys' first introductions to heroes. If it wasn't the first, I'm sure it was one of the first. So that was my introduction. Blue Dragonfive, how were you introduced to heroes initially?
Well, my introduction was Batman the Animated Series. Around 5, I would just come home from every episode on Cartoon Network, tune in for it, and it would just be a blast, and I'd be immersed in the universe. And it defined me, the man I am today.
Yeah, I remember watching it when I was my tweens, because that's when I saw it. And of course, I don't think over here in Australia we got like it episode to episode. We kind of got it broken up, and of course I'd missed quite a few episodes, and I didn't realize how many until I got the DVD sets, and I'm still missing one, of course. So I still haven't seen it all, but that was probably not my first, but I certainly got seen that after I'd seen the movie, actually the second, well technically the second if you count the Adam West one, because I saw that too growing up. Like I loved that movie growing up. Of course now I can't really stand it that much because I'm not a big fan of campy Batman. So, Mr.E, how were you introduced to heroes, at least the fictional ones at first?
Well, I started growing up in the late 90s. So, as a kid of the late 90s and being very young, the very first thing I watched that actually had definite finite heroes was Power Rangers. That's when I actually begun to understand the concept of good versus evil. What I actually began to understand, like, heroism from evil. In Power Rangers, when you watch it, it is black and white. There is no gray area.
Yeah.
Power Rangers.
It's interesting you bring that up, Mr.E. Yeah, I was watching Batman the Animated Series. I learned right from wrong from that series. You know, it's the idea of the hero. This is a guy who always does the right thing. That's just it's a great lesson. These heroes are morality tales, really. You know, it's Batman, to me, he resonated because he was so driven. The backstory, the background, you know, such a dramatic background, it just still, you buy, this guy will not cross that line. After all he's been through, you would expect this guy to just be angry. But he's not. He always does the right thing. That's what a hero is. You know, even more than some might say Superman or other heroes. I think Batman kind of epitomizes it because he's so driven, because he's that, because of his background, because of the city he lives in.
Mm. It's funny too. I saw Power Rangers as well growing up, because at least the first 2 or 3 seasons of it hit right at the right time for me. I grew up with it. It was just, I think I was maybe just outside the target group, but I remember that growing up. I remember being really a fan of not an individual Power Ranger, although that came up later on. That became the green one, then the white one. Inside, spoiler alert, same guy. So that was that's definitely a clean cut, just like Star Wars. There's good guys and bad guys, and it's very clean cut. Batman, I think at least the animated series was a little less clean cut, unless you have the Joker and that, because he's just outright evil. But yeah, so those were. It seems like we have at least been introduced one way in quite a few different ways. Before we go on, I'm sure we should bring up the first superhero, the Superman. So what was my first exposure was to Superman was, I believe, the third movie, because I remember watching that growing up. And I, of course, means Superman 3, and I loved that film. I used to rent it out from my local video store all the time. I know how passe now, but that growing up, I would go to the video store with my mum and my sister, and we'd each pick out a couple of movies, and quite a few times Superman 3 would work its way in there, because and of course that's known as one of the least favorite superhero movies now, because back then it was literally like Superman, Batman, and that was just about it. Like, there was some other stuff around at the time, but there was not that much as in the way of superhero stuff at the time. But so that was my first, as far as I know, that was my first exposure to Superman. I don't think there was anything else really at the time. But so what? Okay, so Mr.E, what was your first exposure to Superman?
That would be reruns on either TNT or USA. I don't remember, but it was Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. That was my first introduction to Superman.
I love that. I love that show. I've got all of it on DVD.
Oh, yeah,
first season and parts of the second season are good, and then it goes downhill.
When I first watched it, I was a kid, so I thought all of it, every single bit of it, was awesome.
Yeah, I was still technically a kid when that was on, so. bluedragonfive, your first exposure to Superman.
Well, for me, it was bits and pieces of the Christopher Reeve movie, but then as the big introduction was the Superman, Batman, World's Finest Animated 3-part episode crossover. That was my big introduction to Superman, was then his animated series. I can't exactly pinpoint. It's vividly in my mind. I remember Batman and Superman meeting each other in animation for the real first time, not counting the Filmation and not counting Filmation Batman and Superman meeting. I mean, boy, it was momentous. Like, oh, Kevin Conroy Batman meeting this Superman, awesome. Oh, and then I became immersed with the Man of Steel ever since. Really good stuff. But you know what the big appeal for me with Superman and just kind of all heroes in general is?
What?
Batman, a lot of people, like Kevin Smith, will always say, I love it when Batman's just punching bad guys in the face. For me, in addition to that, the real main thing I really like about Batman, in addition to always doing the right thing, is when he saves people, and also better than who other than Batman epitomizes that best than the Man of Steel himself, Superman. I love it when he saves people. That's the big appeal of heroes in general, but particularly Superman.
Yeah. I mean, I love that too, but
The shame how it gets lost in some films today, like Green Lantern.
I want to bring up someone before we jump to at least we jump to the Marvel universe. I mean, when I think of DC, I think of Batman and Superman. I don't think of too many others, but I'll just quickly mention before I go ahead and jump to that. Most of my exposure to the other DC heroes was through the Justice League TV show. I didn't know anything about Green Lantern until I saw the Justice League TV show. I didn't know anything about Green Arrow until I saw Justice League Unlimited. I saw I remember some Super Friends stuff. I do remember watching an Aquaman cartoon around that time. But not too many other superheroes from the DC universe were exposed to me at that time. But I just want to quickly mention, because Superman and Batman have something in common with this other hero that I was exposed to pretty early growing up. And that is, of course, MacGyver. I love MacGyver. He is probably my favorite TV hero growing that's not associated with comic books. But I just love MacGyver because he doesn't really punch anyone. He uses his mind to get out of problems, and I especially love it when he goes up against his one real bad guy, reoccurring villain, and that's Murdoch. Murdoch usually stuck him in situations where it was really hard for him to get out of, but he showed that really early on.
Briefly say a few things, just finish up on Superman real quick. Yes.
Yeah, sure.
The thing with Superman is he, again with him saving people, I'm glad that's starting to come back now. With Man of Steel, of course, it would have been great if he saved more people, or if we saw, maybe in the future of film, if we saw Batman saving people in a dark alley, or Superman kind of saving people mid-battle, that'd be great. But they're bringing it back with Man of Steel, the few saves we got, and I can only hope it grows, because you get films like Green Lantern only saves 2 people, then there's the big battle to save the planet. Don't get me wrong, it's appreciated, but still, it's lacking that personal touch. I don't want a scene where Superman's talking a girl out of suicide, But that's why we love heroes, because they're the guys who... They're the guys that, they save people. It's not just the physical level, it's like the emotional. With that, talking the girl out of suicide, or kind of inspiring the kid on the street to go in the straight and narrow as Batman did in I Am the Night. Touches like that, but something even this even resides through Man of Steel, to its credit. Some people kind of forget this, but Superman, with the Superman character, even in the most cynical, distrustful times, he remains the most optimistic and Superman. That's what makes him super. That's what makes it so powerful. This guy's comes from a different planet. He's sticking up for the little guy. Something that's really endearing about Superman. That kind of it's such a powerful quality. It even sticks out in Man of Steel. If it's a weaker story point to that film, that kind of still emanates through, I think.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. But what I think defined me in those early few years when I saw superheroes, as far as Luke Skywalker and Batman and a few others, MacGyver and all that, it was hammered into me at an early age. Maybe not so much Luke Skywalker, but that was Star Wars. There's a war thing in there, but a lot of them wouldn't kill. It was hammered into me from an early age. Killing is wrong. It just doesn't work. And I mean, I'm a little bit not so focused on that anymore. But to me, there's certain guys that I don't want to see killed. That was my problem with Man of Steel. Is right up until that final battle, I was with that movie. It's I would have given that movie at least 4 stars out of that. But that last little bit is really where it comes crashing down. And look, no, this is just me giving my opinion. Okay, I know you'll defend that movie to your dying breath, Dragonfive, but this is just me. But I'm just saying, look, that was hammered into me, as well as seeing and saving people and all that. And I still have that part in me that I do like to save people, but not like from dying or something like that. Well, obviously that situation has never come up, but saving people in certain other ways, like stopping them from doing something silly, essentially saving their spirit or something, helping them out, giving them a shoulder to cry on, or talking them through their problems. That's to me has sort of what's defined me, at least to the fictional level, and somewhat the real life level of those heroes, especially at least in the early stages.
Heroes save everyone, even the bad guys, and that's how can you not respect that?
Yeah.
Story called Joker Devil's Advocate. Joker, he's basically getting the death penalty because of he was pinned for a crime. The insanity thing fell through. But here's the problem. Problem is Joker didn't do it, and Batman knows it's the right thing that he has to prove his innocence and stop this from happening, because it's not justice, it's not right. As much as he hates it, because nothing would delight Batman more than for Joker to die not at his hand, because he would never kill the Joker. It's what makes him a hero. You do things even though it's tough, even though it's hard, even though you really don't want to do it. I think Captain Logan once this phrase is really beautiful. I always remember this quote from Captain Logan because I think it's really true to what heroes are. You put others' happiness before your own. The heroes put other people's happiness before their own. That's what makes them heroes.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah. Like Peter Parker, he'll live a crap life as long as he's protecting people, as long as he's doing the right thing. Yeah.
Well, I think this would be a good time to, seeing as you brought up Peter Parker, move on to Spider-Man. I think my first exposure to Spider-Man, and it's probably at least one of you guys as well, was the animated TV show.
Which one?
Well, the 90s one, I would say, the early 90s one.
I got you. Spider-Man the animated series.
Yeah, the one we did a commentary on, and I can't remember what was the first episode I saw, but I do remember the Venom saga. At least seeing bits and pieces of that, and I still like that show. I don't think it's as great as everyone. I agree with everyone that it's probably not the greatest animated thing ever put out, but there are reasons for that. So that was my first exposure to Spider-Man, and it really was quite refreshing to see a teenage superhero. But anyway, so Mr.E, you haven't been talking too much, so I'll let you go next. So when was your first exposure to Spider-Man?
Exactly same as yours. I remember as a kid, it would always come on early in the morning, and every time I woke up, that would be the first thing we would watch right before I went to school.
Funny, that's the same thing for me, but I think for me, it was high school. Blue Dragonfive, your first exposure to.
I'm gonna complete the triangle here. Yes, 90s animated Spider-Man for me too. But yeah.
Well, I figured it'd at least be one of you. I thought one of you might say, "Oh, well, actually, I didn't see it until the movie came out."
Oh, it was always not Spider-Man.
funny.
I really, yes.
It was funny when I was watching the movie and I saw exactly when I was watching the movie and how Green Goblin was becoming Green Goblin. I was like, that's not right. That's not how the animated series did it. That was the one thing going through my mind. But the animated series did it better.
Well, for me, I had a gap in between. Yeah, I mean, I was familiar with the '90s series, but then there was like a kind of a grace period. So when I saw the movie, I really came in, kind of re-entered the Spider-Man franchise fresh. You know, I had the comics. Yes, I had the comics in between that, but Spider-Man was really my regular comic. I still to this day, even when Spider-Man's not going too hot in the comics, I still pick it up out of that sense of respect and that, you really helped me get into comics. Those I always picked up since the beginning, Spider-Man comics. It was always my weekly buy. Whenever I could get my hands on, I'd get that weekly Amazing Spider-Man, just Amazing Spider-Man. The rest just, if it caught my fancy. And then the movie came out, I got re-immersed in it. I looked at the '90s series, the '60s series, Spider-Man, His Amazing Friends, spectacular, really. Good stuff. Good Spider-Man.
I saw, I think I saw a little bit of the live-action TV show at one stage. Like, I don't remember a great deal of it. I think I did see like a little bit of it. But I'm not. I don't remember that. I don't really remember it, but I remember seeing a little bit of it. I think maybe when I was surfing through channels it came up or something. But yeah, that was my first exposure. But it wasn't my first exposure to the Marvel Universe. My first exposure to the Marvel Universe was the X-Men cartoon, and I love that cartoon. I'm glad I've got all of it on DVD now, but I remember distinctly kind of growing up that they would keep running that whole Phoenix saga to the point where I had gotten sick of it because I was like, the Phoenix saga? Why are we going back to this again? Show me some new stuff. I was like,
But Magpie, may I bring something up since you're bringing up the X-Men?
Yeah, sure.
You notice, I know I'm not the first to say this, but I'm saying that you notice how Marvel is kind of more branded on the relatable heroes and DC is the inspiring ones? Well, the ones you try to live up to be?
Yeah, I noticed that. There's sort of more down to earth.
Yeah.
At least
it's not a bad
moment.
thing. Not a bad thing at all. It's just different. It's kind of a strength of Marvel, and like Peter Parker, you care about the guy who's behind the mask. Where Bruce Wayne, it's just Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent are basically covers. And great power comes great responsibility. Like perfect, one of the best literary quotes ever.
Yeah, I mean it still gets quoted.
Because it's so true to what heroes are. With that great power comes great responsibility. You don't even have to explain it. It's right there. Coming from the dying words of Uncle Ben.
Yeah, but I think it got forced into the new movie. But I mean they had to put it in there. I mean it's like the defining line, and I'm glad they didn't have to. They didn't re-say it in The Amazing Spider-Man, which, by the way, I think is a superior film.
It's not superior. Don't you mean spectacular?
No, it's amazing.
I mean, yeah, it's amazing. It's an amazing film. But yeah. So
X-Men.
Back to the X-Men.
Right. You said X-Men are very relatable heroes. That's the thing.
Yeah. I remember watching that show and being. I didn't love Gambit as much as I do now. Now I really love Gambit because he's Gambit, and it's too bad he hasn't been in any X-Men movies.
Except for a terrible one.
No. He's not in that movie. He's not in that movie.
Let's not.
Just like Deadpool isn't in that movie either.
Let's not speak of myths now, Magpie. Let's not speak of
yeah, well,
complete falsified reports. Let's not go into that.
But I was glad when he got into when he was at least I found out he was going to be in X-Men Origins. I don't think there was really a spot for him in the original 3 as much as they shoehorned in so many people into all those other the last one.
Yeah.
But I do like those movies, at least the first 2. I don't hate Origins, but I understand why you don't particularly like it. And I understand why other people don't particularly like it, but I don't hate it.
The thing is, I'm just really angry at it. I don't hate it. I'm just really, really angry at it.
About Deadpool?
Who?
Barakapool.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it wasn't until someone pointed it out that I was like, where the target swords come out of his arms, and someone says, "Well, how does he bend his arms when it's got that?"
With great difficulty.
It's like, I like to think that it's like a.
Well, I can tell you one thing. The first time I watched that movie, it was the very first time I saw it in theaters. I was just like, "This, pretty good movie." It's not until I just heard what everything, each character, who it was, and I actually dissected the movie that I was just like this. Oh, God.
Well, before I start breaking out the yellow word boxes, let's see to how you were introduced to the X-Men, Mr.E.
Spider-Man.
Oh, you saw him on Spider-Man.
Truthfully, but every single time every single hero that I got introduced to, it was Spider-Man. That was the 90s series that I watched that forever. Then I got to the crossover
with the X-Men.
Between Spider-Man and X-Men, I was like, this is the best episode ever. Yep.
I remember David Warner was in that episode as
That's how I got
Herbert
first introduced to
Landon. Herbert Landon.
Yeah. It's a good episode. I'm not denying that. Good two-parter.
I was introduced to Daredevil.
Everything.
That. I was introduced to Daredevil
here.
from the Spider-Man show. He was so cool in that. I was like, oh man, this guy's awesome. And of course,
and then they made the
Kingpin.
That's how I found out about Kingpin was through that show too.
Oh yeah, he was so awesome, that Kingpin.
Yeah, but that's how I didn't get introduced to Daredevil like that. I actually watched him in the movie. That's how I didn't see that episode until they put a DVD out for it, and I was glad that they did, because that DVD was awesome. Yeah. That crossover was awesome.
Well, the X-Men, for me, 90s animated series. I was introduced to them, however, I didn't really care until it's the thing. Like, I don't hate the X-Men at all. It's just they're a great idea. It's just some of the stuff that's, particularly like the films and stuff, and some of the animated series don't really thrill me. Not that they're bad, just I really got interested with Wolverine the X-Men, though. I love Wolverine the X-Men show. That's when I really started, around that point, I really started to really care about the X-Men. I got immersed in the universe more. I was aware of the X-Men from the 90s show. You know, saw some interesting, it was interesting, cool looking stuff. But, you know, I had my Batman, so.
Yeah, I'm
and Spider-Man, so, yeah.
I gotta say, I'm more of a DC guy than a Marvel guy. Even though I don't really read I don't read comics, but I have picked up a few. But yeah, and I just want to, now that I think it would be terrible of me to say, but I think we can leave the comic book world now because quite often I think, with me at least, how I got introduced to a lot of the comic book guys was through TV or movies.
Well, wait. Magpie. We can't leave the comic world just yet. There's one very pivotal character we haven't talked about yet.
Which one are you referring to?
Jim Gordon. I just wanted to say something briefly about Commissioner Gordon.
Okay, all right. I'll let you talk Jim Gordon.
The reason I really like the Jim Gordon character, he's my favorite supporting character in comics, and to me, he is kind of he's a hero in his own right. Because he represents the good and order in Gotham. It's Batman working for that order, working with that order. Preserve law and order. Yeah. Basically, as a kid, I always kind of recognized that Jim Gordon, as a character, he necessitates the need for the hero. That's what his character really does. It just necessitates that need for, things are bad, I'm working with you, even though, I'm not supposed to. It's like him saying, I'm going to do the smart thing here, I'm going to work with you, even though, again, it's kind of that, I guess Gordon kind of blurred the lines, but still without breaking them. He bend the rules, not break them. And that's kind of really true what Batman stands for, I'm bending the rules wearing a mask and not wearing a badge. So I can do the things you can't, but I'm working with you guys. And, he really grounds Batman, the whole Batman universe in reality, particularly Batman in reality. Kind of showing, like, the law enforcement, they're not giving him a badge that, like in the 60s show, not giving like an honorary badge or anything. They're saying, I'm going to look the other way while I say, go look for him that way, that sort of thing. Sorry, I just wanted to bring that up, in association with heroes.
You know what's funny?
Yes?
I took one of the first comic books I picked up was a Star Trek comic. And in that comic, there was a crossover with the X-Men.
What?
Yeah. They had transported themselves back in time there, and they maintained that it was like the same continuity. So in the same continuity as the X-Men and the Marvel Universe is Star Trek.
What, so was Spock possessed by the Phoenix?
No, it was actually the Next Generation. It was a crossover.
Let me get this straight. Professor X was in the same room as Picard.
Yeah.
Did they converse with each other?
Yeah, like I remember this one like splash panel. On one side is the Next Generation crew, fresh out of it's supposed to take place after First Contact, right? Mm-hmm. On one side is like the Star Trek, the Next Generation crew. On the other side is the X-Men team with Xavier.
It'd be hilarious. There was like a split screen whenever they were talking to each other. So it's like, okay, so it's the same guy. He's just pretending to be in a wheelchair.
Yeah, but it was definitely it was an interesting comic. I wish I could find it. I just love it. I think what happened is though I beat it up and fell apart. But I did like that, and there was another one. It's funny because I want to use that to segue into Trek, because a few things that me and my dad are talking about is Star Trek and how I'd watched a few bits and pieces back then. Like I'd seen a couple of the movies. I think one episode. I think it was Unification I'd seen. But yeah, I got watching it. Then Voyager came out, and we watched that via videotape because my uncle was getting videotapes sent to him by a friend, and we would watch them. And we watched Voyager, and eventually Deep Space Nine came along. We watched a few of that, and then we got Next Generation. And I actually liked. I'd binge watch Next Gen because we used to get like tons. That was like we'd get like a whole bunch of tapes. There was 2 episodes each tape, and we watched them. back then I was like, wow. I would immerse myself in that universe. I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. That's before, of course, I developed my critiquing skills, and I was like, I absorbed myself in that world. I became I became literally like an overnight Trekkie, or Trekker, whatever you want to call it. But and it's a shame because it's taken me this long to go back and watch some of the original series as well. But I loved the Next Generation. To me, that I don't really connect with those though with a lot of those characters because I do, but it's like, oh, I like those guys, but Deep Space Nine, that's to me. If Next Generation is DC, then I think Deep Space Nine is probably Marvel, because in Deep Space Nine they're definitely all down to earth characters. You can honestly believe them, and I love all those guys. To me, they're great. But to me, my favorite character is Tom Paris from Voyager. That guy, I relate to him so much. I get everything that's coming out of his mind and everything. He's awesome. He is my favorite Trek character, and I know that's probably sacrilege to say it's not Picard or Kirk. It's definitely Tom. To me, it's Tom Paris. He's so awesome. Okay, now I've finished that. Why don't you guys, one of you guys, just jump in and say, what's one of those TV shows that you watch or have watched that's not comic book related that you just really love?
Well, I don't know about TV show, but I know certain movies studios produced a lot of heroic characters.
Who?
Pixar.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, okay. Go ahead, man.
You got a lot of great ones to go with here. I mean, you got Buzz and Woody, for starters. The guys who are the archetypes of heroes, just in their design alone. The cowboy and the astronaut. The new frontier and the old west. They're heroic. By the end of the first Toy Story, they're making sacrifices for the other. Buzz Lightyear's literally essentially Buzz Lightyear's kind of like a really cool. He's a space cop. That's what he is.
Yeah.
It's like the Green Lantern Corps, only with Iron Man suits in a way. Well, maybe not Iron Man suits, but it's just. It's just still the Buzz Lightyear Star Command TV series. You want to mention TV series? Is basically a whole bunch of space cops that go around. You got people from every sector, kind of like the Green Lanterns. Different species, genders, you name it. Like races, you got a bunch of robots, space aliens, LGMs.
Yeah. What was the name of that big alien dude that was in that?
You mean Booster?
Yeah, he was awesome.
Yeah, he's from Joad.
Yeah, I loved him. And I love the
XR?
The woman.
Mira?
The woman is... Yeah, Mira was cool, too.
Oh, I love Mira because she's voiced by Nicole Sullivan. Oh, I love her. But yeah, but also not to forget Woody. Yeah, Woody's that likable character. He's our hero in the film. He's kind of, throughout the Toy Story trilogy, he's our main guy in that. He's the one who goes through the struggles, and by the end he comes to that realization, maybe the town is big enough for the two of us, and then, I'm here for Andy. What was I thinking for, thinking about going to Japan?
Mm-hmm.
Or, I'll stick around even though I won't be around forever. Of course, by the third one, he makes a sacrifice, for another child's happiness in the third one. It's just these are very heroic guys. By the end of Toy Story 2, Woody, he's darting out of their own bullseye with Buzz also on bullseye, and they're on that airport tarmac. They're chasing after that luggage cart. It's just so bombastic. It's great. And by the end of the first Toy Story, one of my favorite Pixar scenes, you got Slinky. Slinky has his legs being held onto as he's like reaching to Buzz and Woody racing on RC to get into that moving van. It's such a heroic thing. Like, these sacrifices they're making for each other. Even as a kid, I was like, oh man, that's awesome. Like, what's going to happen next? Just like that whole chase, then the Kuna Matata music, but then that awesome chase. Yeah?
Yeah. I love that series of films. That was really good. And I like it's okay that there was a break between them, because I understood that it takes a long time to do that.
Then you got... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just saying, so that's a good pick, I'm sure. I'm not, I should say I'm not surprised. Yeah.
Oh, so you got Mike and Sully, Marlon and Dory, and Mr. Incredible and Frozone.
Yeah, they're all. That was good that they did The Incredibles. I don't know why they haven't made a sequel to that yet. That's begging for a sequel.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, Marlon's whole journey in that film is this kind of hero's quest. He's going to save his son. Dory there being the anchor and kind of going along with it. She's this angel of mercy, kind of telling him not to panic at times. He's afraid, but he's going ahead of this anyway. That's an endearing quality for a hero, if you will. And there's that great scene where he's darting to save Dory. He's darting through that field of jellyfish. He's like, "Stay awake!" After he darts through that whole minefield of jellyfish, shocking the crap out of him. I mean, boy, that's a heroic moment right there.
Yeah. So, quite a few great examples in that. Definitely. Well, I think we better let Mr.E have a turn now.
Yeah.
Alright, well, I have two in mind. First one, I'm going to mention their film series. Mainly, they were made back in the old days that's still technically being made by MGM. That's the James Bond series.
Dun-dun.
Dun-dun.
Yeah,
that is the series that has a hero that people can like, but they can hate at the exact same time. But that's what makes him so great, because almost half of the people just love him.
How do you hate James Bond?
Well, some people might call him too much like, he's a man whore.
I've heard people say
look at everything on
I've heard some people compare Batman to James Bond, saying you're the James Bond of superheroes.
Not really.
No, Batman's a man whore.
Well, I mean, there's Talia.
But if you look at almost every
Batman.
single movie Bond is in, he kind of he's with maybe three. Yeah. But it's just that film series with James Bond, he's a hero that could literally be any secret agent in the world right now. I was about to say it could be any man right now, but I was like, well, he's a secret agent. I don't think every single man in the world is an agent.
I don't even think every secret agent is like James Bond. I mean, come on. He lives a charmed lifestyle, that Bond fellow.
Yes, but I saw the, I only just recently got the 50 years of Bond set, and I saw The Living Daylights, and one of the opening scenes with that is Bond parachutes onto the back of a boat with a very, shall we say,
voluptuous
woman, yeah, but I was thinking of what she actually was, but she was like, there's never going to be a man that's going to come into my life, and then he drops down there, grabs her phone, and he says, pick me up in 5 minutes. Better make that 20.
Were you quoting Batman just now?
No.
Now,
that to me.
I'm going to mention is, well, it's something that I started growing up with, and for some reason, I am slowly getting back attached with. I don't know what brought it back. Wrestling. You watch every single wrestling show. There are multiple characters there. Heck, they actually had a superhero called the Hurricane. So it's just one of those things where in wrestling you have good guys, you have bad guys, and then you have people who are bad guys, but the audience will love them just because of almost half of the dastardly deeds they do. Stone Cold Steve Austin comes to mind. In times, he could seem like a bad guy, but everyone loves him just because he's Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
Well, I may not be a wrestling fan, but I know who the baddest of the bad guys in the history of wrestling was.
Who?
Andy Kaufman.
Oh, yeah, well...
he was the most hated bad guy ever, and yet he was the worst, and he won.
Yeah, but...
it
was hated, but
Tell me
I'm going to tell you right now, I think you're wrong, because I think he had what in the wrestling people would say is heat. He had quite a lot of heat. But I'd say he was definitely up there, but I think Ric Flair...
Run on you, that was a good bad guy run.
Yeah.
Back and forth with that guy.
Well, I would say that he's not hated now, but Hollywood Hogan, when he did that turn at Bash at the Beach '96, and people were literally throwing garbage at him in the ring, and of course, quite often they missed him. That was a big deal. But the thing is, the people were booing him before that, but now they had a reason. And that was.
I remember the Muppets from Space movie. He had a cameo in there, is when he was a bad guy. He had the 5.
Actually, no. When that movie came out, he had turned back good guy.
It's ironic. Well, it's funny then. He's in there. He's in the bad guy phase apparently.
Yeah.
5 o'clock shadow, and Rooster says, "Wait, you're a good guy." He says, "Nope, I'm a bad guy." He says, "What do you want me to do with the rat?" It's funny. Timelessness. Yes?
Those two things were mainly my other things of pros from outside of comic books.
Yeah. Yeah, me as well. I think people on my channel know how much I love wrestling. I mean, of course, I'm very much into it now. And of course, I love wrestling. You know, it's got a little bit, especially when it has a little bit of everything. I think when you have a little bit of everything in there, it's really good.
So are we getting into...
Once you get Rey Mysterio, that's when it's good.
Yeah, Rey Mysterio is awesome. I mean, that guy can literally fly around the ring. It's just amazing.
The greatest high flyer of all time.
So are we getting into real life people who really defined and inspired us?
Yeah, Aaron. One guy that, not so much his persona that he puts on, but definitely his outward, his behind the scenes thing sounds really cool. I'm of course going to mention Mark Calloway, the guy that does The Undertaker. It sounds like behind the scenes and everything, he's very loyal, and that's something that I think we can all. Loyalty is definitely a key for me, that means a lot to me. I mean, the guy literally stayed with the same company, especially through the downtimes and all that, and he was not exactly the top guy, but he was definitely always up there. And one of my favorite things is that no one has a bad word to say about this guy. I mean, he's done some stuff that I can disagree with, but it's just it's a very loyal guy, and literally he hasn't got a bad thing to say about him. And there's a shoot interview that came out recently where Kevin Nash was talking about the build-up to his match that he was going to have with Undertaker at WrestleMania 12. And he knew that that's where they were going. And in between the Royal Rumble and the WrestleMania show, he was having a match with Brett. And Brett wasn't going to take his finisher, which is the jackknife powerbomb. And Brett was was saying, no, I'm not going to do this. And Nash was saying, just do it, will you? Just do it. And apparently it led to Undertaker standing up and going, it's not about you, man. It's about us. This will make our match mean more. And it's like, yeah, see? And the fact that even Brett still likes him and that he's never said anything bad about him, that just really shows that, hey, you can at least respect the guy and everything. And to me, being able to be respected is really a key thing. Anyway, that's it. That's someone I really look up to, and very much so.
bluedragonfive, how about you?
Okay. Well, I can narrow it down to two, but the main one I gotta highlight is John Lasseter. The guy's he's a very creative animation pioneer. This guy. He runs Pixar, and now he's the chief creative officer of all Disney animation and Pixar animation. Good for him, by the way. Yeah, this guy inspires me. He loves what he does. He helped me learn what I want to do. He's so passionate about. He's very passionate about his craft. He's always been kind of this artist. He's the most positive guy in the world. You can watch this documentary. It's called A Day in the Life with John Lasseter or something. It's like this whole half-an-hour thing on YouTube you can find. I always look to this guy for inspiration. He has this great quote. I gotta say. He says, "Art, technology, and technology inspires the art." The other creative person I really have to highlight is Seth MacFarlane. I love this guy. He's a brilliant comedic mind, multi-talented, and charming as heck.
Yeah.
I was gonna look to these guys as Seth MacFarlane being kind of the ideal man anyone could aspire to be. Kind of the guy of many crafts, gets all the women, does what he loves to do, but he's really living it up. But I could throw all that away as long as I'm doing what I love to do. That'd be at Pixar. Like John Lasseter. John Lasseter, I would die and go to heaven and I can meet this guy. Yeah, John Lasseter. Yeah, he gave me Toy Story. He defined my life. This guy. I always looked to him for inspiration. He's just the happiest, go luckiest guy I could ever imagine. Mr.E.
My hero in my life is not anyone famous, not anyone popular, no one like that. Usually, I would say it would be someone popular, but in all honesty, it's not. It's popular to maybe a few people, and that's only in my local area. That's my dad. He is my hero because he was, when I was acting and all, when I started going into acting and all, he would, even when times I wouldn't be confident about myself, he would literally be the first person to tell me, don't worry about it. If it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. Just as long as you enjoy doing it. And through that entire time, I just started to enjoy doing it, and throughout the time that I kept on going with acting, I've always been getting compliment after compliment after compliment after compliment. And right now, from what I've heard, I am one of people's favorite actors, whenever they in the local area, and whenever they watch a show that I'm in, I'm usually the first person or the first character they see and say, like, and after the show, they always come up to me and say, your character was my favorite character. And my dad always comes to the first performance of every show that I'm in. And because of that, because he always helps me and encourages me and inspires me to do more, that's why he's my hero. I can't think of anyone else.
Okay. Great, man.
We at CFG would like to dedicate this episode to all the fathers out there.
Except mine.
But extending that to even the ocean to Marlin.
Yeah. I want to mention two more because I didn't realize that everyone was going to mention that Blue Dragon 5 was going to mention two. But I want to mention one of my favorite actresses. She's an awesome talent. Yeah, she is an awesome talent, and I really am amazed at how
Sandra Bullock?
No. Come on, you know who this is.
Natalie.
Natalie. Of course, I mean Natalie Portman, because she has never given a bad performance at all. She is awesome. She's an awesome talent, and I think even though she is not giving the A-grade performance that she needs to in the Star Wars films, it to me proves that George Lucas is a genius because he made Natalie Portman look like she couldn't really act. But I would like to also mention that one of my parents is definitely my hero, and that's my mum, because she essentially had to raise me and my sister with very little both of us from a very young age, and she had put up with all my crap growing up, and the fact that she had to do so much with so little and still manage to make my childhood, at least living with her, so great and so wonderful, and is still standing by me to this day, and still after everything that I've put her through and everything, she's just so awesome. She is perhaps, in my opinion, the best mother out there. She's always there for me. Whenever I fall or anything, and I'm not talking literally, I'm talking metaphorically. She's right there to help pick me back up and send me on my way. She is awesome.
Magpie?
Why do we fall? So we can learn to pick ourselves back up.
There you go.
And yeah, and she is awesome. But is there anything else you guys want to mention? I've got this one last thing I want to say before we go.
Yes, we'd like to also dedicate this episode of CFG to all the mothers out there.
Yes, to all the mothers out there, let's dedicate this episode.
To all the parents out there in the world.
Yeah.
You know my favorite Stan Lee cameo is?
The one from Amazing Spider-Man. Come on.
No, I like it, don't get me wrong, but you know what my favorite one is?
Which one?
From Spider-Man 3. I bring it up because, just hear me out, here's what it is. Stan Lee is standing on the streets of New York. Peter Parker stops by. He's glaring at the little ticker. You know, it looks like a stock ticker with like a headline on it, like the Crawl. It's Spider-Man. Everyone loves Spider-Man at this point in time.
Yeah.
And Stan Lee turns to him and says this profound line. This is the reason it's my favorite. You know what? I guess one person really can make a difference. Enough said. I think that quote's so true. Yeah, that's what heroes do. One person can make a difference. That's why we love heroes. That's why these guys have defined us.
Yeah,
Batman.
That's actually what Knight Rider was based on. Can one man make a difference?
Yeah. I mean, look, for me, watching Batman the animated series, I can go all day on. You know, the idea of the hero, the guy that always does the right thing, Batman being so driven, that's the reason I love him. This guy's so driven, he won't cross a line. He'll just do everything in his power to save him. Even if it's the bad guy, he's going to do the right thing, do everything in his power to do that. And that right from wrong, but even like little PSAs they worked into the original
Well,
Batman the Animated Series. Sorry, what?
Unless it's Ra's al Ghul, then he won't try.
Right. But yeah, even the PSAs, like in Underdwellers, not the best episode, but there's this really great little PSA in there where he the kid gets into Thomas Wayne's armory and sees the guns. He's like picks up a musket, and Alfred says, "Put that down. It's very dangerous." Then Batman, in costume, he takes the gun from him, and he has this really profound line. He says, "Children and guns do not mix, ever." That just stuck with me. Oh man, yeah. Batman's the perfect guy to deliver that. He's been shaped by gun violence. It's just that the show, it defined aspects, again, just taught you right from wrong, that show, and it really always stuck with me, and that defined me as a person, maybe the man I am today. Just heroes have that effect on people, and they're good role models. That's what they are. The morality tales, good storytelling, endearing characters. It really does make a difference. That's what it does.
Yeah.
We get a whole film exploring, Kick-Ass. And Kick-Ass 2, it's just really, that's what heroes do. It always and that's why I love superheroes. Just the fact that they can make a difference, and they, always do the right thing no matter what.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
Anything else you want to say, Mr.E? Because I've got one really nice thing to say here at the end.
No, I'm good.
Okay, I just want to mention this before we go. Of course, there was an event that happened almost 12 years ago. It's actually going to be 12 years ago in just over 21 days. I was sitting down in front of the TV watching the last few minutes of Raw. And my mum came out to let me know that something had happened over in New York. She wasn't, from memory, I don't think she knew exactly what was happening. And I soon switched over the channel after Raw had ended to find that one of the Twin Towers had been hit by an aeroplane, and I wasn't sure at that time we weren't sure if it was an accident or it was on purpose. And then not too long after that, the second plane hit. And for most of the rest of the night, I heard what was happening. I heard about the attack on the Pentagon, and there was reports flooding in about a crash that was just outside, I believe, Pittsburgh it was. And we thought apparently it was reported then that it was probably unrelated. And of course that was United Flight 93, and to me the events that happened that day certainly those heroes, just ordinary people caught up in a situation that they didn't understand, and some of them paid for it with their lives. And of course there were firefighters, police officers that all put their lives on the line just to try and save one other person from something that just was unthinkable at the time. And it goes to show that you never know what you're capable of until it happens. And to me, that was definitely a day of heroes, but of course it was a day of villains as well. But I just wanted to put that last little bit in here, because while it is nice to look up to superheroes, fictional characters and all that, we do live in a world where heroes do exist. They just don't necessarily put on costumes, and they're not always actors or actresses. They're not producers. They're not directors. Or they could be. They could be, but then again, they could all, of course, be just ordinary people caught up in a situation that they don't understand and weren't expecting. Blue Dragon 5?
this now that you mention that, it just always reminds me of there's something really powerful that happened after that event that really just kind of, I think, brings it all home. There's this great issue of the Amazing Spider-Man, the John Romita Jr. J. Michael Straczynski run, and it's issue 36. It's the 9/11 issue, and there's this really just profound shot. It's basically we get to see intersecting with the true heroes. It's the real life heroes, the police, the paramedics, the firefighters. You get to see Spider-Man first. He's reacting in this big spread page of the tragedy of the utter destruction. Because comic heroes, they're used to buildings falling around them all the time, but in Marvel, kind of a more relatable world, we see kind of really the ground level chaos and madness that's going on down here. You see Spider-Man like just in utter horror saying, "My God." Then you see assisting these real life heroes or our superheroes, and it's really kind of that moment kind of transcends the page. So it's like the heroes leaked off the page to help out the real heroes, and I think that was really really nice. Really nice bit. And I always kind of, I didn't know what was going on when that happened. I just heard, I was in that, I heard some of that chaos, just, so no one knew what happened. Like, first I heard was a helicopter, then a plane, then it was one, then it was two, and it was chaos in there. I think that comic captured that. It wasn't a good day, but, it was, the villains, the sad fact of the matter, dear listeners, is that villains, the good guy doesn't always win in the end. That's something in the comics. The good guy always wins. But you know what? It's our job to help the good guys win. You see someone fall down, you help them up. Be that good Samaritan. Be a hero to yourself, but also strive to have good triumph over evil on any day of the week. We have that hope that the good will triumph over evil, even though evil is really strong and rampant. Be the Batman. Be the most Superman you can be. Aspire to be a spider. Something along those lines,
Yeah. I think we can end off the show there. So, yeah. Mr. E, your riddle of the day.
Okay. Riddle this, riddle me that. What is something that you can catch but cannot throw?
Ooh. That's a good one. I don't think I know the answer to that one.
Alright.
I'm sure that there is something you would like to say, Blue Dragon 5, just before we wrap it up here.
Yeah. Remember, tell your friends about us, but only if they're fans.
Meeting adjourned.